So, Dragon Quest VII, Fragment of the Forgotten Past, was gifted to me with a note that said, "Oh, my dear, sweet, poor summer child." I laughed it off. I heard the horror stories, Dragon Quest VII is slow, it's a slog, it gets forever to get started. I heard it all, but nothing was enough to deter me. But that didn't mean they were wrong, though. I'm here to tell you the rumors are true. Dragon Quest VII are all those things, and more. Special thanks to David for letting me use his footage, as my 3DS capture card is busted. Your protag, formerly named Aris, a kid who's best friends with the curious Prince Kiefer, who wants to uncover the secrets of a mysterious shrine and why they are the only island in existence. There is so much nonsensical back and forth. The game gives you so many chimera wings, an item that allows you to instantly teleport you to locations you've already been. It isn't until 2 hours later you gain access to the shrine. Your childhood bratty friend, Maribel, forcefully joins you. The crew is teleported into the past by way of mysterious fragments, and you encounter your first fight. Not boss fight, fight. It takes 2 hours of running around to boop your first trio of slimes. Confused that there are monsters running about, the gang explores and stumbles upon a town in need, and thus begins the episodic formula of Dragon Quest. Help a town, get your hip hip hoorays, and be awarded or discover another fragment. You return to the present and you notice the lands you save are now reappearing on the modern day map. You visit those lands to find more fragments and how your heroism impacted the town several years in the future. So, not a bad concept at all. Collect fragments to unlock your new past world, explore past world, return to present, explore present day area, rinse and repeat. 2 things. Dragon Quest VII is an all-around slow game. Going back to the present to explore a newly freed island that you literally spent the last 2 hours in isn't always exciting. And secondly, honestly, not the game's fault, but I went into DQ7 relatively blind. I didn't realize I'd be going between worlds, and I was a bit burnt out of that theme after coming from Chrono Cross. But Dragon Quest VII isn't all bad. I found the cast to be rather likable. Also, I'm using their 3DS names. Kiefer, the Prince of Esterd, who I thought should have been the main character, honestly. His heart was set on adventure, and he hated his life as a prince. Ruff, my absolute favorite, who's just a happy-go-lucky puppy boy. Mervyn, a paladin and right hand of the Almighty. And Aishi, a dancer for an ancient tribe whose mere existence I adore. And the one character I don't like, Maribel. She's the daughter of your town's mayor and acts like a little sibling who wants to be in the older sibling's business all the time. That's probably why I dislike her. She reminds me of my little siblings when we were kids. Now, the different islands did feel pretty unique, with different lands, different dialects, something Dragon Quest is known to have fun with. The best stories in DQ7 were the ones that connected. You'll meet various walks of life who will temporarily join your party and have a specific role in the story. Only later to go save another island and a familiar face might be there, but not exactly as you met them. That was cool. If you've played any modern Dragon Quest, VII is more or less the same. It's a solid turn-based RPG. Though instead of random encounters, enemies are on screen and they spawn fast and sometimes directly under you. Oftentimes dungeons have narrow paths, practically forcing you to do battle with little chance to evade. The usual suspects are present: attack, defend, item, spells, abilities. The main difference between spells and abilities are more or less MP-free spells. Everything else, self-explanatory. You beat monsters, make money, get that experience. Monsters on or higher than your current level count toward jobs. And this is what makes the game interesting. Job classes give you a little customization over your character. Changing jobs changes your character's stats, what skills and abilities they will learn. The more jobs you learn, you'll slowly begin to unlock intermediate then advanced job classes. For example, you start with a basic class as a priest, then you move to martial artist. Now you've unlocked the intermediate paladin class. To access the advanced classes, you gotta do the same. Note, most skills and abilities you're able to keep even when switching classes, but some are unique to that class. Also, there are monster vocations, which can be obtained by defeating the right enemies, or finding the right treasure chests. Some monsters give unique abilities and spells not obtainable by the standard classes. I actually enjoyed this class system as I didn't have to restart from level 1. Rather, my base level stayed the same and I was only leveling up that particular job, seen by how many stars you have. So when I was fighting a boss, I could hold my own as long as I had a few other jobs under my belt. With that, Dragon Quest VII sure is grindy, despite being reworked for the 3DS version. The vocations you have to do X amount of battles rather than worry about experience does make the grind feel hella long. That said, I don't really think you need to grind too much at once, because if you do stick it out and grind job levels, the game will be a cakewalk. By the end, my party was dominating everything that came its way. It was glorious. As much fun as the class system is, it takes you 20 hours to get it. For 20 hours of the game, you're just hitting things until they die with minimal strategy. It was awful. This leads me to the many time-saving changes they've done with Dragon Quest VII from the PS1 to the 3DS. Dragon Quest VII was severely bogged down by needless back and forth, and its greatest criticism is the atrocious pacing. And I can agree. Thankfully, some beginning conversations were cut, as well as some annoying fetch quests and puzzles to get you to the fragment assembly room quicker. In the original, players had to go to individual rooms to place fragments. Now the assembly room is condensed into a menu by way of a new impish NPC. And most importantly, the fragment locator. I genuinely don't know how you PS1 people played the game without it. On 3DS, on the bottom screen, the locator will glow when you're near a fragment. It will glow even brighter when you're in the same room. The original didn't have it, so you could either spend hours looking for something that wasn't there, or accidentally skip over it and get stuck later wondering where the heck it's at. Dragon Quest VII was the first of its kind to introduce party chat. You talk to your party, gain useful hints, or cheeky conversation. Honestly, I wish I used this more in my playthrough, I just kept forgetting, but when I did remember, it was helpful or comical. Exploration was changed, with islands no longer being a world map, but fully explorable areas, even if they were a bit big and empty. But you'll be keeping a lookout for some valuable treasure, like a Dragon Quest staple, mini medals. Collect a bunch for some awesome prizes, or find yourself at a casino to spend hours of time in. The migrant town is new. After defeating monsters, find them in the world in their new human form, and go to town, where they'll give you traveler's tablets which unlock old dungeons posed as new ones. Fight the boss of that area, earn a stamp. The gifts you receive are solid items, and some of these areas make for a great early job class grinding spot. The Monster Haven allows you to build homes for these monsters using blueprints. Here you can also form a team of 3 monsters to explore a cave. Upon their return, they'll find traveler tablets, which produces a randomly generated dungeon, and can be shared via Street Pass. Of course, there are some DLC tablets, but you know me, I don't dabble in DLC. But if you're digging Dragon Quest VII, be sure to pick it up before March 27th, 2023, before the eShop closes. The jump from 2D to 3D is the most noticeable upgrade, and I gotta say, I know DQ7 wasn't particularly praised for its graphics on the PS1. I gotta say, I kinda like the pixel graphics more. I get how this must look exciting for someone who has played the PS1 version to see some of their favorites in full 3D, but alas, the grass usually looks greener on the other side, doesn't it? Touched on before, exploration is changed up as areas are fleshed out rather than an overworld, and random encounters are a thing of the past, which is always a good thing in my book. Another thing, I'm so happy I can see the characters, even if it's only their backs. It's just a weird thing I'm picky about. Speaking of views, I love that you can rotate the camera around most areas. I'm a sucker for those puzzles that are cleverly solved by playing with the camera angles, even if it can be disorienting at times. Dungeons were also pretty straightforward, lots of tunnels and narrow passageways. Not a lot of puzzles, we get a few here and there. The rainbow mines still remain one of my favorites, simple but enjoyable. And now, what I think is unanimously one of the worst parts of Dragon Quest, the most forgettable parts, the music, once again composed by Koichi Sugiyama. I'm sorry, I cannot get into this man's work, it all sounds the bloody same to me. You could quiz me on all the Dragon Quest games I've played's music, and it would be a miracle if I got even one right. All I know is it's Dragon Quest, as a very simplistic, samey sound. For whatever reason, the version Japan got was an orchestrated OST, while the States got a synthesized version. I don't care for this music no matter what the form, so if I had to choose a favorite, let's go with a happy song and dance for once? Singing Stadium. It's pretty cheerful sounding, and it's happy energy, and I think we could all use some. I hate to parrot what literally everyone is saying about Dragon Quest VII, but it's an absolute slog. I've never played a game that didn't know how to begin, and frankly, didn't know how to end either. The beginning was so painfully slow, and it hurts my brain to think that it was even longer in the original. And within so many stories, you're traveling back and forth, whether it be past, present, or within that same region. And just when you think you're nearing the end, it springs another thing you need to do. It just doesn't know when enough is enough. Never mind having to play a quarter of a 100-hour game to get to the core gameplay. Who approved this? Toward the end, I was burnt out. I started not talking to the townsfolk, nor did I bother with the post-game. I just looked it up. While I did enjoy the ending of Dragon Quest VII, I wish it didn't take so goddamn long to get there. Thankfully, my favorite Dragon Quest games 5 and 8 don't take long to get the story going, and I happen to review both of them here. Check them out. And mosey on over to my Patreon where you could support me, and in return, you could join the Discord, get early access videos, and postcards. Thanks for watching. Mwah.